Moving forward a little bit, after Curtis, you went and studied at Juilliard with the great pedagogue Catherine Cho,
Yeah.
who is actually, I believe, one of the great violin
Hmm.
pedagogues today. Can you talk a little bit about your work with her and
Uh-huh.
just what kind of musical imprints she left in your life?
Absolutely. I have a very unique relationship with Miss Cho.
Hmm.
I call her.
Yeah.
She was something that, or she was someone that I didn't really know much about, to be honest, before I entered Juilliard.
Okay.
But I've only heard great things. But I'm also very careful with how people portray everybody. Just something I learned. But I mean, there's something about the energy of our first meeting
Mm.
that I just said that whether or not it's going to be a great fit or not,
Mm.
I knew that it was something that I wanted to try.
Sure.
And we met here in Philadelphia, actually. So I had reached out to her a couple months before the audition, just a very cold email, just like kind of how you did, right? To me, I love cold emails. I actually think cold emails are better than, it's amazing
Yeah.
what you can get.
Yeah.
So I sent her a cold email just saying that, hello, my name is Timmy,
Mhm.
and I'm really interested in auditioning for your studio. Can I get a trial lesson?
Mm.
And I remember she told me, meet me in Philadelphia. I'm going to be in Philadelphia. I'm like,
Oh.
I'm in Philadelphia.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was playing with the Philadelphia Chamber Music Society. I still remember December of 2016.
Mm.
And we had a great lesson.
Mm.
And I just said that, you know what, I'm going to go for this. Because it was so different than my upbringing of learning
Sure.
the violin and musical experience previously.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that I did that because it has been probably one of the most special relationships I've had with a mentor, in both a personal way, professionally, and also it was the time I think is very reflective of what happened. It's
Yeah.
also when my performing career really just exploded.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not one to kind of separate things from each other,
Mhm.
but I think the entire environment that I was in
Mhm.
allowed me to prosper.
Mhm. Yeah, that's wonderful. And talk to us a little bit about your lessons. Like, what were they like in terms of, was she very abstract with the
Uh-huh.
way she
Uh-huh.
described music, or was it more like just kind of hands-on? Like, was it?
It's amazing. I mean, her lessons, every lesson was different.
Sure.
That's the part that I'm still going to question her to this day. I'm just, how does every lesson feel like it's a different page in the
Mm.
book of Timmy? But also, at the same time, it's still the same novel.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The first lesson I had, I remember I played Izai number 3,
Sure.
Sonata number 3 for her. And I was a little bit nervous
Yeah.
because, we only met very, very shortly. But I remember even that first lesson, immediately afterwards, I suddenly understood what I was doing much more clearly.
Mm.
Eventually, our lessons, what she really taught me at the very beginning, and it's changed over the 4 years and 5 years I studied with her, but the very first couple lessons, I would say if there's one thing that I understood what to do was how to practice.
Yeah.
Which is strange because I've been doing it at the time by already 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was the first time I actually understood how to practice.
Yeah.
And practicing doesn't always mean just playing and repeating.
Yeah, of course.
And I think ever since then, I became much more efficient in my practice skills
Mm.
and knowing when to push and when not to push.
Yeah.
Eventually, as my studies with her grew,
Mhm.
it was starting to become more deliberate with choices that were musical,
Mhm.
but also how that reflects from my personal experience.
Sure.
So it was very intertwined. It was very psychological in a good way, in a good way, of course. And there was just so much positivity, optimism, tough, of course, high expectations, but at the same time, just really allowed me to allow myself to inject my own musicality into my violin playing. And really just, I was so looking forward to every single lesson.
Yeah.
And I think after that, I've come to realize that that is probably one of the most important things as you get older, is to kind of rediscover your relationship with your instrument. Because it's a long-term relationship, it's longer than most marriages.
Exactly.
It's now been almost 30 years of playing this instrument. So, and with anything, you need to rediscover what you love about it.
That's wonderful. And I'm sure the figuring out to be more efficient has served you well, especially given your current concert schedule, where you're maybe not afforded the time to practice as much as you would like, but as you were when you were a student. Can you talk a little bit about your days as an artist diploma student specifically, and what that entailed, and what your life looked like at that point?
So artist diploma student for me, it was September 2019. So it was a couple months before COVID, actually. Yeah. So quite honestly, I didn't really have much that I experienced out of the artist diploma program. Yeah. It was, the program itself at Juilliard was very performance-based. Yeah. So a huge emphasis on doing your professional opportunities. It was a fantastic support group behind me. Yeah. If I needed to borrow a room, if I needed help with writing a project or reaching out to this one person, Juilliard was always there for me. Yeah. And I think that is something that I'm so grateful for. Yeah. I would say that my lessons were still at the core of the reasons why I continued to do that program. Of course. I learned Beethoven Violin Concerto in its entirety for the first time, which is a massive project. Yeah. After that, it was very interesting because then COVID happened in March of 2020. And I was gone a lot before that because I already did the competitions and my performing career was going in full swing. Yeah. So what happened after that was, I was still enrolled at Juilliard, but everything became online. Right. And to this day, as now someone that does teach, it's amazing to see how quick the mentor has to change their strategy of running a studio. Yeah, yeah. We were suddenly faced with this situation that we couldn't even understand, and for some reason, it still felt like we were glued together. Yeah, so. Yeah, my artist diploma program was very it was combined with a very specific project, which was learning Beethoven Concerto. Right. And then suddenly dealing like, oh my gosh, the whole world is stopping right now. Yeah. What am I doing with my life?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so funny.